Good afternoon, one and all present here. On behalf of Business Studies Department, I welcome Head of the Department, Dr. Habiba Ma'am, Head of the Sections, and my dear colleague in the webinar on Management Research using AHP Technique. Management research helps in solving several business problems through qualitative and quantitative techniques. The management research support organization in identifying the critical problems, analyzing the situations, and proposing the best solutions for solving them. One of the well-known technique which has been majorly used by researchers for solving complex business problem is AHP. And to enlighten us on this topic, we have invited Dr. Kriti Priya Gupta for the session. A warm welcome to you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for accepting our invitation. It is indeed a great privilege and pleasure to have you here. Before we proceed to the webinar, may I take the opportunity to introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Kriti Priya Gupta. Dr. Kriti Priya Gupta is a professor in the area of quantitative techniques and analytics at the Symbiosis Center for Management Studies, Symbiosis International University, Noida. She has more than 19 years of teaching experience. Her research interests include statistical modeling, decision-making, and behavioral aspects of technology adoption. She has published several research papers in the reputed academic journals such as Behavioral and Information Technology, Digital Policy, Regulations and Governance, Journal of System and Information Technology, OpSearch, Asia Pacific Journal of Operational Research, and Journal of Asia Business Studies. She has conducted several training programs and workshops on the topic such as data analysis using SPSS, research technique in information and communication technology, statistical analysis using AMOS, and data analytics using MS Excel. Her research project on citizen perception of e-governance services has been appreciated by New Delhi Municipal Council, New Delhi. She has been invited as a member editorial committee of the special issue of Vigyan Garima Sindhu published by Commission of Scientific and Technical Terminology MHRD, Government of India. She has also received the Literary Award for Outstanding Paper by Emerald Publishing Limited in year 2020. She has also been recognized as an honorary Rosalind member of London Press Journal Press for the first quarter of 2021. It's a quite impressive profile, ma'am. We all are eager to listen to you. So without much wait, let's begin our session. All the participants are requested to post their queries in the comment section. The queries will be addressed by Dr. Kriti Priya ma'am at the end of the session. Now may I request Dr. Kriti Priya ma'am to commence the session. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Preeti ji, for such a nice introduction, and thank you so much for inviting me for this webinar. So without further delaying the program, let me come straight to my topic for today, that is management research using the analytic hierarchy process. So I'm going to share my screen now. Please let me know whether you are able to see my screen.
Yes, ma'am, it is visible.
It is visible. Okay, thank you. So this is the topic for today, management research using the analytic hierarchy process technique. So in this presentation, in this webinar, I will tell you where can we use this AHP technique, what kind of papers we can write based on this AHP technique, and how can we actually apply this technique using a very simple platform, that is Excel. So I'm not going to show you any hi-fi software to employ this technique. I'll be using simple Microsoft Excel to employ this technique and to obtain the desired results. So to start with the topic, this AHP is actually a multiple criteria decision making process, which is based on two areas, that is mathematics and psychology. It was developed way back in 1970s by Dr. Thomas L. Satie. And if we talk about the application areas of this technique, primarily these are the two areas where we can apply this technique. First is decision regarding selection of best alternative. So based on certain criteria, based on certain parameters, if you have to decide which one is the best alternative, which one is the optimal alternative, so in this kind of a decision making scenario, you can apply this technique. Another area where you can apply this technique is when you have to prioritize some factors that may influence some phenomena. For example, factors influencing adoption of e-governance, factors influencing adoption of educational technologies. So any phenomena, if you have certain factors that may influence that phenomena, and if you have to prioritize those factors. Prioritizing means if you have to find the relative weights of the factors, as in which factor is more important in influencing that phenomena, which factor is less important. So if you have to find out the relative weights of those factors, then you can also apply this AHP technique. So let me show you a few research papers which are based on these two application areas and which have employed this AHP technique. So in the folder that I have already shared with you, there is a folder called sample research papers. And inside this folder, I have shared 4 papers, which are sample papers for this particular technique. So first of them is this supplier selection. So this is a paper which has been published in this International Journal of Engineering Business Management. This is a journal from SAGE and it is a Scopus Index journal. And in this paper particularly, the authors have used this AHP methodology for performance measurement model for supplier selection. So I'm not going into the details of this paper, but let me just show you that what they have done actually in this paper. They have considered these 15 criteria, 15 parameters for the supplier selection procedure, and these top 15 criteria they have ranked. They have found the ratings of these factors based on the AHP technique. And these are the parameters or these are the criteria which influence the supplier selection. So this is what they have done in this paper particularly. Then talking about the other paper, this is human resource allocation. So this is from the HR side. And this paper has been published in this journal, Mathematical and Computer Modeling. And this journal comes from Elsevier, another reputed publisher. And in this paper, they have employed this AHP technique for human resource allocation. So they have employed this technique particularly for solving hiring problems in the industry. So this is another application where AHP has been used. Then another one is this paper, which is by myself and Preeti ji. This is prioritization of factors influencing employee adoption of e-government using this AHP process. And this paper has been published in Journal of Systems and Information Technology. This comes from Emerald. And in this paper, what we have done is we have identified certain factors on the basis of literature review, which can influence the adoption of e-government by employees of government sector. And we have then used this AHP process, AHP technique, to find out the relative importance or the relative weights or relative ranks of those identified factors. So this is what we have done in this paper. And the last paper that I have shared with you is identifying and ranking critical success factors of customer experience in banks. So this paper is again published in a journal from Emerald. And in this paper, the authors have identified and evaluated the critical success factors which make the dimensions for measuring customer experience in banking organizations. So they have specifically identified 14 critical factors influencing this customer experience and they have prioritized them. So what I'm trying to say is, based on these two application areas, AHP can be used in any management domain, be it HR, be it finance, be it information technology, be it operations or marketing. So I have just shared few of those papers, but there are many more which have been written on the basis of this AHP technique. Now to give you a general idea as to how AHP works. So first of all, AHP involves a multi-level hierarchical structure which comprises of a goal, that is the objective, then the decision criteria, which are the parameters leading to that particular objective, and then finally the alternatives, which are the courses of actions. Now, pair-wise comparisons are used to determine the weights or the rankings of criteria as well as the alternatives. Now, what do we mean by pair-wise comparisons? Pair-wise means taking two criteria at a time or two factors at a time. We ask the respondents to compare them. So compare them as in which one is more important over the other. The first one is more important than the second one, or the second one is more important than the first one. So taking two factors at a time, we ask the respondents to compare them on a scale which is a separate scale specially meant for AHP. So it is not the usual Likert scale, which is on a scale of 1 to 5 or 1 to 7, which we generally use in management research. So here in AHP, different kind of scale is used to capture the responses of the respondents. So I will discuss what this scale is all about and how do we capture responses. But the idea is that the pairwise comparisons are used to actually calculate the weights. Now, broadly, these are the 5 steps which are there in the AHP technique. First of all is to build the AHP hierarchy. So the hierarchical structure, as I just told you, it comprises of the objective, the decision criteria, and the alternatives. So we particularly form this AHP hierarchy based on our problem. So whatever problem we are dealing with, on the basis of that, we identify our goal, we identify our decision criteria, and we identify our alternatives. And combining all of them, we first of all make this AHP hierarchy. Then in the second step, we construct the pairwise comparison matrices. So on the basis of the data that we collect from the respondents, so here the respondents are actually the experts. Experts means depending on a problem, whatever problem we are discussing, depending on that, who are the best ones which can contribute to who can contribute towards the problem. So those respondents are called the experts. So these are the experienced people who are the best ones to tell you about that problem in detail. So here in AHP methodology, we contact the few experts to collect the data, and the data is collected on the basis of a special questionnaire that is specifically meant for AHP. In the third step, after getting the data from the respondents, in the third step, we actually apply some calculations to calculate the weights or the ranks of the criteria. Then in the next step, we apply the consistency check. So after calculating the weights, we actually validate those weights. We actually cross-check whether we can accept those weights or not. So there is a consistency check in AHP which is applied to ensure that whatever weights we have calculated, those weights can be accepted or not accepted. So this is done in fourth step. And finally, after calculating the weights of the criteria and sub-criteria, if any, based on that, we calculate the weights or priorities of the alternatives. So these are the broad 5 steps that we utilize in AHP. Now I will try to discuss 2 examples in this webinar. So if time permits, I will discuss both of them. Otherwise, at least one example will be discussed. And this is the first example which I am going to discuss. Here, the problem or the objective in my study is to select an online teaching platform. So online, in this COVID times, all of us are using several online teaching platforms like Google Classrooms, MS Teams, and Apple also. So these are the 2 alternatives amongst which I have to decide which one is the best. So I have 2 alternatives here, Google Classroom and MS Teams. So at the end of this example, we will be able to tell which one is better than the other. Google Classroom is better than MS Teams or MS Teams is better than Google Classroom. So this is a hypothetical example that I have taken. And the criteria that I am using here to decide on this, these are the criteria. First is user-friendly accessibility. Second is interactivity and collaboration. Third is course management tools. And the last one is evaluation tools. So based on these criteria, I am going to decide which one to be selected, which one is more important. Whichever is more important, that one will be selected. So this is my goal. These are my criteria, and finally these are my alternatives. So as I said, in the AHP process, first of all we have to build AHP hierarchy. So this is the step 1 where we have to formulate this AHP hierarchy. Now this is the AHP hierarchy which has been formulated on the basis of my problem. So going into the details of it, this is level 1, which is the goal, that is the objective. So objective is placed at level 1, which is selecting an online teaching platform in this particular case. Second level is the criteria. So I have 5 criteria on the basis of which I am going to select my alternative. So these are the 5 criteria: user-friendly accessibility, interactivity and collaboration, course management tools, and evaluation tools. Finally, at the last level, you have the alternatives. So I have only 2 alternatives in my problem. These are Google Classroom and MS Teams. So if you have other alternatives, you can place those alternatives here at this level 3. Now in the next step, we have to obtain data on pairwise comparisons from experts or the respondents using questionnaires. So using questionnaires, when we say, so what kind of a questionnaire do we make to obtain this pairwise comparisons? So I'm going to show you the questionnaire, the hypothetical questionnaire. So in this folder, I have this Word document wherein the questionnaires are there. And there are 3 questionnaires. So since AHP is a decision-making technique, it is not a statistical technique. So we don't actually need to have a very, very large sample size. A small sample size as small as 15 or 10 respondents, that can also suffice if your respondents are actually experts in that domain. So here in this hypothetical example, I have taken data from 3 respondents. And now let me show you how do we actually capture data in the questionnaire from the respondents. So as I told you initially, we have a different scale to capture the responses. And this is the scale. So this scale ranges between 1 to 9. Wherein 1 stands for equal importance, 3 stands for moderate importance, 5 for strong, and so on. And we have intermediate values also to compromise between the extreme values. For example, if somebody wants to rate the comparison between 1 and 3, so he wants to have something between equal importance and moderate importance. So he can mark 2. So we have the facilities of the intermediate responses also. So the range of the scale is from 1 to 9. Now, how do we obtain the pairwise comparison data? So this is how we compare. So let me go back to the slide and let me show you this hierarchy once again. So as we have in this hierarchy, we have 5 criteria here. So let me just say user-friendly accessibility and then interactivity and collaboration. So in pairwise comparisons, as I told you, we pick up 2 factors or 2 criteria at a time. So how can we compare 2 at a time? First of all, user-friendly accessibility will be compared with interactivity and collaboration. This is one comparison. Then secondly, user-friendly accessibility again will be compared with course management tools. This is the second comparison. Then third time, user-friendly accessibility will be compared with evaluation tools. So what we have done, we have actually compared the first criteria with the second one, with the third one, and with the fourth one. So this is how we have completed the first one. Then we will compare the second one, that is interactivity and collaboration, with the third one, that is course management tools, with the evaluation tools also. The idea is we have to pick only 2 at a time to make a comparison, and we have to make all possible comparisons. So this is how we make our questionnaire. So if you have to make comparisons amongst the criteria, this kind of a table will be made in the questionnaire. On one side, we will put up the first factor to be compared or the first criteria to be compared. On the other side, towards the right, we have the second criteria to be compared. Now, in between the two, we have this scale. Now, this scale is ranging between 1 to 9 on the right hand side, and similarly from 1 to 9 on the left hand side as well. And why we have done so? This is because suppose the first place, in the first step, these 2 criteria are compared with each other, user-friendly accessibility and interactivity and collaboration. Now the respondent says that interactivity and collaboration is more important than user-friendly accessibility. All right. In that case, the respondent will put a tick mark on the right-hand side of this table. So this is the right-hand side. In between here at the place of 1, we have the place for equal importance. Suppose the respondent says that this user-friendly accessibility is as important as interactivity and collaboration. So this means that these 2 are equally important. So in that case, the respondent will put a tick mark at this 1. But in case if interactivity and collaboration is understood to be more important than user-friendly accessibility, then the tick mark goes to the right-hand side. Now, how much important is it, or what is the degree of importance? That can range between 2 to 9 here. So in this case, for example, the tick mark is at 7. So it means 7 stands for very strong importance. So if the respondent feels that interactivity and collaboration is very important than user-friendly accessibility, this is why this tick mark is at this place 7 towards the right-hand side of this table. Similarly, when the comparison is made between user-friendly accessibility and course management tools, Again, the respondent thinks that course management tools is more important. That is why the tick mark has come towards the right hand side again. But here the degree of importance is 6. So it is somewhat lesser than 7. So it depends on the respondent, whichever criteria he considers to be more important. Based on that, the tick marks will be placed at different locations. So for example, let me give you an example for this as well. Here, interactivity and collaboration is considered to be more important than course management tools. And that is why the tick mark has come towards the left hand side of the table. And the degree of importance is very less, which is 2 only. So depending on which criteria is more important and which is less important, the tick marks are shifted to different locations in this table. So coming back to the hierarchy here, we have obtained the pairwise comparisons for these criteria. Now in the similar fashion, we have to obtain the pairwise comparison for the alternatives also. So now both the alternatives will be compared with each other in pair only based on each criteria. So the question which will be put up to the will be that on the basis of user-friendly accessibility, which one is more important? Google Classroom is more important or MS Teams is more important? So this is how we will be putting up the questions to the respondent. So first of all, the comparisons among the alternatives will be made on the first criteria, that is user-friendly accessibility. Then second time, the comparisons amongst the same alternatives will be made on the basis of the second criteria, that is interactivity and collaboration. Similarly, on the basis of the third and then the fourth and finally on the fifth. So based on all of them, we have to make the pairwise comparisons. And same pairwise comparison will be made. If Google Classroom is more important, tick mark will be shifted to the left hand side. Or if MS Teams is more important, tick mark will be shifted towards the right hand side. So this is how we obtain the pairwise comparisons. Now coming to after completing this second step where we obtain the pairwise comparisons, we come to the next step where we actually calculate the criteria weights. So for this we have to go to Excel to transform the data collected in the questionnaire in the form of the matrices. So I'm going to Excel now. This is a blank Excel file. And let me make a structure of this. I have 5 criteria: user-friendly accessibility, interactivity and collaboration, and so on. So let me give short names to them. So user-friendly accessibility, interactivity and collaboration. This is the second one. Third one is course management tools. Then fourth one is evaluation tools. Now I also need the same headings at the top also. So I'm just copying them and I'm going to paste as a special transpose so that they come in this manner. So this is a matrix that I have formed. Let me give a border to this. This is a matrix. Now in this matrix, you can see it is a square matrix. It has 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 4 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now at the diagonal of this square matrix, I am putting 1 everywhere. 1, 1, 1 and 1. So at the diagonal, you have to always put 1. Now what? Now we have to start filling this matrix. So how do we fill this matrix? I'm going back to the questionnaire. Now the questionnaire says in the first comparison, user-friendly accessibility and interactivity and collaboration, the tick mark is at 7 and 7 is on the right hand side. So idea is whatever tick marks are there on the right hand side, we convert those values into reciprocals. So if 7 is there on the right hand side, what we will do, we will put 1 by 7 here. And it is picking up a different format. So let me change the format everywhere. Let me choose fraction. So 1 by 7 here. Then the second comparison says 6 towards the right hand side. So again 6 will be treated as 1 by 6. Then coming back, The third comparison between user-friendly accessibility and evaluation tools is 5 again towards the right-hand side. So this is 1 by 5. Here. Now the other ones between INC, that is interactivity and collaboration, and course management tools, interactivity and collaboration and course management tools, it is now 2, which is towards the left-hand side. So whichever response is towards the left-hand side, I don't need to take the reciprocal of that. I will take it as it is. So 2 as it is. Then again in the next comparison, interactivity and collaboration and evaluation tools, I have 2 again. So 2 again towards the left-hand side. So I am putting 2 again without reciprocating it. Then the last one, course management tools and evaluation tools. It is 2, but on the right-hand side. So it is on the right-hand side. That is why I am making it 1 by 2. So this is what I have done. Now the elements below the diagonal, the blank spaces here, how to fill these blank spaces? There is a very simple rule. This matrix is going to be a reciprocative matrix. So reciprocative matrix means if you have 1 by 7 here, you should have 7 here. If you have 1 by 6 here, you should have 6 over here. And 1 by 5 here means you should have 5 here. So in the first row, you have to take the reciprocals to fill the first column. Similarly, in the second row, if I come, this is 2 over here. So I should have a value of 1 by 2 in this cell. Similarly, 2 here means 1 by 2 in this cell. So let me make it simple for you. I will put a formula over here equal to 1 by this particular value. So reciprocal of this value. Similarly here I will have 1 by reciprocal of this particular value. And finally here it will be equal to 1 by reciprocal of this particular value. So as I said, these values in the first column are the reciprocals of the values in the first row. Similarly, values in the second column will be the reciprocals of the values in the second row. And similarly for the third column. So for the third column here, the value will be the reciprocal of the value in the third row. And this is how we fill in the matrix. So this matrix that has been formed here, it is a 4 by 4 matrix, 4 rows and 4 columns. And this matrix is known as the comparison matrix. So this is how we have to make the comparison matrices for all the comparisons. So as of now, we have made a comparison matrix for this particular table or for this particular comparison. Similarly, we have to make a matrix for this comparison and for this and for this. So I have already created the sheets here, comparison matrices. So this is the same sheet that I was working on. So this is the sheet for respondent number 1. So you can see this is the comparison matrix for criteria comparisons coming from the first table here. Now for the second comparison, which is between Google Classroom and MS Teams on the basis of criteria 1, we have another matrix over here. So Google Classroom and Microsoft Teams, these are the two alternatives, same headings here in the top. And this is a square matrix again. And let me just cross check. We have 6 here towards the left hand side. And that is why 6 is here in this comparison. And this is the reciprocal of 6, which is 1 by 6. Similarly, for next comparison, which is in between the same two alternatives on the basis of criteria 2, 6 again towards the left hand side. That is why it is the same similar matrix, 6 in this cell and 1 by 6 in the reciprocal. Then on the basis of the third criteria, you can see we have a tick mark over 1. So these two are equally important. So for this, we have this matrix where we have 1 here. And the reciprocal of 1 is again 1. So we have 1 here as well. Now in the last comparison, on the basis of criteria 4, we have a 3 towards the right hand side. So that is why we have fraction reciprocal of that 3, 1 by 3, and 3 is here in the bottom. So this is how we make the comparison matrices, and these matrices are to be made for all the respondents. Since I already told you that we have a lesser number of respondents when we apply AHP. So in this example, I have taken the responses from 3 respondents only. So this is the second questionnaire coming from respondent 2. And this is the third questionnaire coming from respondent 3. So likewise, I have in my file, Excel file, I have 3 sheets, each for the different respondents. So this sheet is for respondent 1, this one is for respondent 2, this one is for respondent 3. So this is how we have to convert the responses captured in the questionnaire in the form of comparison matrices. So this is the step number 2. Now in the step number 3, we have completed the comparison matrices. Now coming to the next one, we have to normalize the comparison matrices by dividing each entry by the sum of the corresponding column. Now what do we mean by that? Let me go back to this sheet wherein I have the data converted in the form of comparison matrices. Now I am going to form normalized matrices. How do we make this normalized matrix? I have to have a similar structure of this matrix. So same headings I'm using. Now I need to obtain first of all the sums of all the columns in this comparison matrix. So for that I am going to apply a formula of sum. So this gives me the sum of the first column. I can drag it for the entire row, and likewise I can have the sum of the columns for the entire matrix. So these are the column sums. So let me highlight these so that I am able to distinguish later on. So these are the sums, column sums. Now what do I have to do to obtain the normalized matrix? I have to divide each corresponding entry in the comparison matrix by the respective column sum. This is what I have to do. And similarly here also I have to divide this by the respective column sum. Similarly in the third one. And in the last one. You can see these are 0, 0, zeros everywhere. So let me convert them to numbers so that you can actually see the values. Now if you drag them, it will be a problem because while dragging, we have to take care of one thing. Since we have to again and again divide by the respective column sum only, so I have to freeze the denominator. In the denominator, I have this column sum which is 19 here. I have to freeze it by putting dollar signs, and that can be done by pressing F4 key on the keyboard. So just by pressing the F4 key on the keyboard, you can see that these dollar signs have come up. Now these dollar signs, what they do, they actually freeze this particular value. Freezing means making something constant. So if you make this denominator constant and now if you drag, there will be no issue because every time the corresponding entry will be divided by the respective column sum only. You can cross check. Likewise here, you have to freeze this denominator by pressing F4 key on the keyboard. Then you can drag. Similarly here. And finally for the last column. So this is nothing but the normalized matrix that has been obtained. So we are done with this step also. We have normalized the matrix. Now we have to calculate the criteria weights by simply averaging out the rows in the normalized matrix. So this is what we have obtained. Now we have to calculate the weights simply by taking the average of the corresponding row. And you can drag it to have the averages of the other rows as well. So what is it? This 0.05 is actually the weight for the criteria UFA, that is user friendly accessibility. Similarly, 0.44 is the weight for the criteria interactivity and collaboration. 0.22 is the weight for course management tools, and finally 0.29 is the weight for the last criteria, that is evaluation tools. Now here you can see that the highest weight goes to INC, 0.44. This means that amongst all the criteria, all the 4 criteria, the most important one is interactivity and collaboration. Then the second important criteria comes out to be evaluation tools, that is 0.29. So this is the second important criteria. And likewise, the third important one is course management tools. And the last one is, the least important, is user-friendly accessibility. So this is on the basis of the data actually that we have captured from respondent number 1. So this is how we calculate the weights. And this process has to be done for each comparison matrix. So for each comparison matrix, we have to calculate this normalized matrix. And after having this normalized matrix, we will be having the criteria weights. So I have already done it in a separate file for you. And this is the file. So these weights have been calculated everywhere. These are the weights which are coming from the averages of the rows of normalized matrix. Now after this, what do we have to do? We have to check whether these weights that we have calculated can be accepted or not. So for this, we have to apply a consistency check on the comparison matrices. Now there are these steps which have to be followed to apply this consistency check. So what do we have to do for that? We first of all have to create a matrix AW. Suppose the comparison matrix is denoted by the symbol A, then we have to calculate a matrix, create a matrix AW by multiplying the comparison matrix by its corresponding weight matrix, that is suppose W. So let me show this to you in this sheet. These are the weights. Let me just highlight them. Yes, these are the weights. Now this comparison matrix I am as say A. This is my comparison matrix and this is my weight matrix. I am calling it as W. So what do I have to do? I have to calculate AW, which is nothing but a multiplication of this comparison matrix and this weight matrix. So how do we multiply two matrices in Excel? So for that, you need to pre-select these 4 cells. Just pre-select by using mouse and then press equal to sign. Then apply the function mmult. So mmult is the function in Excel that gives you multiplication of 2 matrices. Mmult. Now put an opening bracket. Now it asks for 2 arguments, that is array 1 and array 2. Array 1 is the first matrix, that is A, which is my original comparison matrix, comma. Array 2 is the second matrix that I want to multiply, and that matrix is my W matrix, which is these weights. Now close the bracket and don't press enter, rather press Ctrl Shift Enter together. So you have to remember this whenever you are applying this mmult function in Excel. Pre-select the date, pre-select the cells, apply the function, and after completing the function, press Ctrl Shift Enter together from the keyboard. So I am pressing the 3 keys together, and by doing so, I have these values here, which is nothing but AW, the multiplication of these 2 matrices. Now after having this, the next step is to create the vector lambda by dividing the elements AW by the corresponding elements of W. So let me show that to you. So I am creating lambda by dividing AW value by the W value. So AW divided by W. And now you can drag it to have the remaining as well. So this is the lambda vector which is being obtained by dividing AW and W. So this was this step. Next is we have to calculate lambda max value by taking the average of the values in the column that we have just created. So this is the column we have just created. Now take the average of those values. Average. Close the bracket. So this is the value for lambda max. Next is you have to calculate the consistency index, that is CI, using this formula. And this formula consists of 2 symbols, lambda max, which is the average value that we have just calculated, and n. Now n is the number of rows in the comparison matrix, right? So coming back to here, in this comparison matrix, how many rows are there? We have 4 rows. So n takes the value 4 and lambda max we have already calculated. So let me put a heading of Ci over here. I am going to calculate Ci, and Ci is this, has this formula, lambda max minus n upon n minus 1. So going back here, I am applying this formula which says lambda max minus n. So n, I know it is 4. There are 4 rows and 4 columns in the matrix, divided by n minus 1. So what is n minus 1? It is 3, because 4 minus 1 is 3. So this is the value of Ci. Now after having Ci, I have to calculate this final value Cr, that is the consistency ratio, and this has the formula Ci upon Ri. Ci we have just calculated, but Ri is a standard value which comes from this table. So this is a standard table which can be used every time. So depending on the value of your n, Ri can be picked up. So in this case which I am discussing now, I have the value of n as 4. So corresponding to 4, Ri is 0.90. So let me go back to my sheet. Let me write down that Ri for my case is 0.90. So I'm writing it 0.90, which is coming from the table. And finally, I have the value of consistency ratio, which is Ci by Ri. So this is equal to Ci divided by Ri. So this is the final value of consistency ratio, and the rule says that this consistency ratio should be less than 0.10. So if it is less than 0.10, then the matrix is considered to be consistent, and then you can say that the weights that you have calculated can be accepted. So if it is not so, then you have to revise your data. You have to go back to the respondent and get the questionnaire filled again. So this is what the consistency check is, which is being made on the basis of consistency ratio. So the rule is that it has to be less than 0.10. Now this consistency check has to be done for all the comparison matrices and for all the respondents. So these are the sheets for the respondent number 2 and respondent number 3. So this has to be repeated for all the respondents. So I've already done it for you. This is what the final sheet is, where the consistency check has been applied for all the comparisons and for all the respondents. Now after doing this, this is the final step where we are actually going to calculate the alternative weights. So before doing that, we have to aggregate the comparison matrices using the geometric means. So what do we mean by that? We have to combine the data of individual respondents. As of now, what we have is we have the sheets for individual respondents. So we have one sheet where the weights have been calculated for respondent number 1. In another sheet, the weights have been calculated for respondent number 2 and likewise for the third one. So we have to now combine all of them. So how this aggregation done? For that we need to insert another sheet, and let me call it as aggregate. For that what I will do is I will just select any of these 3 sheets, respondent 1, 2 or 3, any of them. Just select the entire thing and copy it. Come back to the sheet that you have just created, which is the aggregate sheet. Place the cursor in the very first cell and just paste, Ctrl V. So I have just duplicated one of the sheets in my aggregate sheet. Now what I will do here is I will just remove these values. I'm just removing these values. Right? So I have removed all the responses, and now here in this cell, I am actually going to apply the geometric mean function to aggregate the responses of individual respondents. So what will I do for that? Just press equal to sign, use the geomean function from Excel, which gives you the geometric mean. Start the bracket. Now carefully go to sheet number 1. And in sheet number 1, select this value. So you can see in the formula bar, this value is selected from the sheet R1. Now put a comma, go to the second sheet, select the same place which you have selected earlier. So this is again D6 cell from respondent number 2 sheet, comma, go back to the third one, select the similar place, similar cell, and finally close the bracket, press enter. So in the aggregate sheet now you can see that all the three responses which were there in respondent 1, 2 and 3 sheets have been combined by using the geometric mean function. Now you don't need to worry about applying the formula again and again. You don't have to do it. Copy it by using Ctrl C and paste it by using Ctrl V. Automatically Excel will pick up the respective locations automatically. For example, here if you see in this cell, the places that has been picked up are D6 everywhere. Here you can see these are E6 everywhere. Here again the place has been changed. So Excel will do it automatically. You just have to copy it once and just keep on pasting everywhere. So you don't need to apply the formula again and again. So once you do this, you can see that automatically weights have been calculated because we have created a template earlier. We have copied it. That is why automatic calculations have been done. And automatically this CR thing has been calculated. And you can see that it is less than 0.10. So weights are acceptable. So these are the final weights. Because the ones that we calculated individually for individual respondents, those were not final. It's only when we calculate the aggregate thing, when we combine all the responses in that sheet, whatever weights are coming up, these weights are the final ones, right? Now, after calculating this, we have to calculate the alternative weights, which are obtained by using this formula. So now we are going to calculate the alternative weights. For that, we need this priority matrix. And we also need criteria weights. So how do we calculate this? How do we obtain this priority matrix? We have two alternatives here, Google Classroom and Microsoft Teams. Now, how many criteria do we have? We have 4 criteria. One is UFA, other is INC, then we have CMT, and then we have ET. So in this particular comparison matrix, these are the weights which are for UFA for these two alternatives. Just copy them from here and paste here. Similarly for INC, these are the weights. Copy them from here, paste in the second column. For the third one again, copy, paste in the next column. Finally, the last one, paste in the last column. So this matrix that we have come up with is the priority matrix. So what we have done here, we have just copied the weights that we have calculated and we have arranged those weights column wise in a matrix. Now we have to write the criteria weights. So these are my criteria. And the weights for these criteria are coming from here. Copy them, paste here. Right. Now for alternative weights, we have two alternatives. For alternative weights, we have to multiply these two matrices. So you can see here in this formula, alternative weights is equal to priority matrix into the criteria weights. So we have to multiply these two matrices. So for that, you need to pre-select this portion. Then type equal to, we are going to apply the matrix multiplication function, which is mmult. Open the bracket, select the first matrix, comma, select the second matrix, close the bracket and press Ctrl Shift Enter together from the keyboard. So these are the final weights of our problem. Weight for Google Classroom is 0.58. and weight for Microsoft Teams is 0.41. So based on the data that we have collected from 3 respondents, on the basis of that, the final conclusion is that Google Classroom has more weight than Microsoft Teams. So it can be selected as the alternative. So going back to my problem that I imposed, this was my problem. My objective was to select an online teaching platform based on these 4 criteria, and these were my 2 alternatives. So after applying the AHP technique, I can conclude that Google Classroom can be selected because Google Classroom has more weight than MS Teams based on these 4 criteria. So this was the first example that I wanted to discuss before you. Now for the second example, since time is not permitting me, I will not go into the details of it. I will just give you a short overview because I have already shared all the files related to this in the example 2 folder. I have already given this. So I will just open this final AHP sheet in which all the calculations have been made. So here the objective is not to select a particular alternative, rather the objective is to prioritize the factors influencing adoption of artificial intelligence based teaching and learning methods by teachers. So here we don't have to select anything, rather we have to prioritize the factors and sub-factors. So these are the 3 categories of factors that have been identified on the basis of literature review. One is recognition, then we have educational benefits, and then we have self-motivation. And each main factor category has been categorized into sub-factors like this. So for example, recognition has these 3 sub-factors, educational benefits has 2, self-motivation has 3. So this is how we have categorized. Now the problem is we want to prioritize these. So we want to find out which one of this is more important or more relevant. And similarly in the sub-factors also we want to find the relative weights or the prioritization. So for that, again, we have to calculate the rates and priorities on the basis of the pairwise comparisons that we capture from the respondents. So in this folder, you can see I have shared this questionnaires also. So again, hypothetical responses from 3 respondents. So firstly, the main factors are being compared amongst each other. Then within each main factor category, let me show this hierarchy to you. These are the main factors and these are the sub-factors. So firstly, the comparisons are made amongst these 3 main factors. So you can see it here, main factors. Then the comparisons are made for each factor between the sub-factors of each main factor. So for example, the main factor is recognition. This is the main factor recognition, and then within this you have these 3 sub-factors. So comparisons will be made amongst these. Similarly for the next category, similarly for the third category. So likewise the questionnaires are filled up, and in the AHP sheet, these are the individual sheets for the individual respondents, and this is the aggregated sheet which has been calculated on the basis of geometric mean. And as we did in the previous example, this is the normalized matrix for each comparison matrix. These are the weights that have been calculated using the averages of these normalized matrix rows. This is AW that has been obtained by using mmult function. And then similar calculations as we did in the previous example for calculating the final consistency ratio. So everywhere you can see that the consistency ratio is less than 0.10, which is a mandatory clause to accept the weights. And after calculating the consistencies of each of these comparison matrices, we calculate the weights here. So these are the weights for the main criteria coming from here. These are the weights of the main criteria. So as you can see in the weights, the highest weight is assigned to recognition. So recognition is the main factor, the most important factor, and the other 2 are very less important. And these are the local weights. So here we have a term called local weight and we have a term called global weight. Now what is the difference between these two? Local weight means if we are confined to this particular category recognition only. Now if within this category we want to say which one of these 3 is more important than the other. So we are localized here. We are only confined to this particular category. So weights amongst this particular category are local weights. Similarly, if we are comparing these two amongst each other, then this is local with respect to educational benefits. And finally, similarly here, if we are comparing these three amongst each other, then we are calculating the weights local to self-motivation. So these are the local weights. And if you have to find the global weights means taking all of them together, all of them. Which one is most important, which one is less important. So that will be global. So we calculate the global weights and local weights both. So local weights are nothing but the weights which we obtain on the basis of comparison matrices. So these are coming from here everywhere. These are the local weights that I have arranged in one column. And global weight is calculated like this. For example, if you want to calculate the global weight for the first subfactor, it will be its local weight multiplied by its main factor weight. So since the first three subfactors correspond to the first main category, that is recognition, so for that the multiplication is done by its weight. Similarly here, the multiplication is done by the same main weight. But if you change the category, then the weight will be calculated by multiplying its local weight by the main category weight here. And similarly, if you change the category again, the multiplication will be done between the local weight and the main category weight. So this is how we calculate the local and global weights for the prioritization purpose. So in my slides also you can see the formula for global weight is given to you. Local weight is same as the row average in the normalized matrix as we were calculating in the previous example. But the global weight of a particular subfactor comes by multiplying these two. That is the local weight of that subfactor and the weight of the main factor. So with this, I conclude my presentation here. So Preeti, over to you, and we can have questions if there are any.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing such a nice detail about the AHP technique. I request the participants, if you have any query, you can post in the QA session column, and I will just address to the guest speaker.
Somebody has a question here. Somebody has written it in the chat box, so I am reading it out. Is it appropriate to club two different variables, interactivity and collaboration, together? This is just to answer this. This is just an hypothetical example, sir. Based on the, so it is just an hypothetical example where I have taken interactivity and collaboration together. It is not at all mandatory. It depends on your problem, on your literature review. This is just the purpose for this is just an example for this webinar only. And another question that I see was the superiority of this method over correlation. So I will modify this question and I would say superiority of this technique over regression, because correlation only tells you about how far or to what extent two variables are related with each other. So it will not be fair to compare this technique with correlation. Rather, we should compare this technique with regression, because in regression we actually find the coefficients of the independent variables which may influence a dependent variable. So that is a statistical technique, sir. Whosoever has asked this question, regression is a statistical technique, and those weights that we calculate on the basis of regression, those are nothing but the coefficients of the independent variables that come on the basis of the regression model. But here in AHP, we actually contact the respondents and we actually compare the two factors with each other. So that gives you a more relevant idea regarding the relative importance or the priority of the weights over the other. In regression, you see it within the context of the dependent variable. So on the basis of the model which is fitted over the data, you decide the coefficients there. So those coefficients should not be taken as a substitute of the relative weights which we obtain on the basis of AHP. I think I have answered that question.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any other question?
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Thank you very much for your nice presentation, madam. It's really valuable for us.
Thank you.
And I feel that no one else can enlighten us than you in this topic.
Thank you so much.
I have a couple of questions, ma'am.
Yes, please.
First of all, with regard to this consistency check.
Yes.
What is the purpose of doing this consistency check? And if we are not meeting the criteria of point 1, what steps we need to take with regard to that specific response.
Yeah.
And in case of the overall one, the cumulative one. First question.
Yes. Yes.
Can I ask one by one, ma'am?
Yes. First, I will answer this and then we can take the next one.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So consistency check is basically, as the name suggests, consistency. To ensure the consistency amongst the responses given by the respondent, right? So the respondent is actually comparing one criteria with the other. Let me share my screen again and I will show you. For example, this recognition is compared with educational benefits and the tick mark is here at 6, right? Now, second time the comparison is made between recognition and self-motivation. Suppose instead of 7, the tick mark goes here, right? Vague. I mean, hypothetically, respondent is not actually seeing what he is doing. He is hypothetically putting up the tick marks. To ensure that there is consistency in the responses given by the respondent, that is why we apply the consistency check. This is answer for question number 1. Why we apply consistency check? So that the respondent is not giving vague responses. The comparisons that he is making are consistent with each other. So it should not be like at one place he is giving high priority to one variable and at the second place he is giving low priority to the same variable. So there should be more or less consistency in his comparisons. So to ensure his response that his responses are consistent, that is why we apply that consistency check. Now, what if that consistency check is not met? The consistency ratio has to be less than 0.10. Only then the consistency check is met. If it is not, then what to do? Then we have to contact the same respondent again and we have to put the questionnaire again before him and say, sir, this is not meeting our criteria. Can you please see it again carefully and see what comparisons can you modify? So that is how you can modify the questionnaire if you are able to contact the respondent again. If not, then you have to discard those questionnaires. For example, if you might have done some survey-based studies wherein you get the detailed questionnaire filled from the respondents, but while actually entering the data, you come to know that this particular questionnaire is not a valid one. Why it is not a valid one? Because the respondent has marked say 33333 to all the responses, all the questions, or he has marked 5555 to all of them. So that questionnaire is of no use to us. So we have to discard some responses while actually cleaning the data. So that discarding will be done here also if you are not able to meet the consistency criteria. The rule says that if all individual responses meet the consistency check, then the aggregate one will also meet the consistency check. Yeah, I think I have answered the 2 questions.
Yeah, it's very clear, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
The next one. Suppose, do we need to collect the data by this comparative response method, or is there any other way to collect data for this type of analysis?
No, we have to go by pairwise comparisons only.
Okay, ma'am. In such case, suppose if we have more than 2 alternatives to decide any one, how do we, get response?
Same. See, like for example, let me show this to you.
Could you please use that?
If you have 3, suppose if you have 3 over here, right? So let me put Apple also here, right? Apple. Okay. So what will we do? First, we will compare Google Classroom with MS Teams. Then we will compare Google Classroom with Apple. And finally, we will compare MS Teams with Apple.
Okay, ma'am. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Final question, ma'am.
Yeah.
Is there any other way to analyze it? Because, suppose if we collect response from more than 100 people, maybe it becomes a little tedious, I think. Is there any other way or tool to analyze the response, ma'am?
Yes, there are softwares. Expert Choice is one of them. Expert Choice.
Okay, ma'am.
So these are some of the softwares which you can use, but most of them are paid ones or subscription based. So if you are able to get them, nothing like it. But otherwise, see, in Excel also, if you have a huge number of responses, you just have to create one sheet. And then you can copy it again and again. You can create multiple copies of that. Entire calculation will be saved for you and it will be done automatically by Excel. You don't need to worry about that.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. And once again, on behalf of the participants, I like to thank you. This is really a worthwhile workshop for us, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you. If there are
Madam,
any other questions?
Good afternoon, ma'am. I have a question, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, please.
Madam, is there any standard sample size for this technique?
If you are actually dealing with some decision making problem only, which is a very specific problem to a certain organization or to a certain academic context, then if you are able to contact those experts, then the sample size can be as less as 10 to 15. But if consumer based problem where your respondents are general consumers or students, then in that case suggested sample size should be somewhere between 80 to 100.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Is there any further question to the guest speaker? Madam, is this appropriate to club two different variables interacting?
I have already answered it.
Okay, ma'am. So I think so that no more questions have been published here.
And one more thing.
Yes.
Sorry to disturb you.
Yes.
Is it possible using secondary data, ma'am?
Secondary data will be a problem because in that case for pairwise comparisons, how will you obtain the data? Because
maybe taking some point, for example, you take this crisis, before crisis, after crisis, something if we use sales or market data or return.
No, then in that case, pairwise comparison data can't be obtained. In that case, you will have to go for pair t-test, something like that.
Okay, ma'am.
I think so, ma'am. No more further questions.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, ma'am. As Dr. Ramesh sir has already told us that it was a very wonderful workshop, but thank you so much for enlightening us on the topic of AHP technique. This workshop has given us a detailed insight on the AHP technique, and I'm sure that we have learned something new today. And we will be definitely applying it in the near future. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
With this great privilege, ma'am, we would like to give you a certificate of token of appreciation on behalf of University of Technology and Applied Sciences. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Once again, I would like to ask Anand sir to propose vote of thanks to the guest speaker.
Respected Chief Guest, Head of the Department, Head of Sections, and dear faculty members, good afternoon all of you. On behalf of the Department of Business Studies, University of Technology and Applied Science, I express my heartfelt thanks to our Chief Guest, Dr. Kritipriya Gupta, Professor, Symbiosis Center for Management Studies, Noida, for her wonderful session on management research using the analytic hierarchy process techniques. We are really grateful to you, ma'am, for the today's session. It was so informative and interesting. I'm sure this workshop will help us to publish many articles. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
I extend my thanks to our head of the department and HOS for encouraging us to organize this sort of programs. I'd like to thank the research committee and the faculty development committee for organizing this workshop. Finally, I thank the faculty members for their active participation. Once again, I thank you everyone. Thank you.
We have got one more request here for the question. Yes. Ma'am, it is from our head of the department, Dr. Habiba ma'am. But just now she has been added as a presenter so that she can ask some question. So ma'am, can you just spare 5 more minutes?
Yes, please. Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'll just ask Dr. Habiba ma'am. Jinu sir, can you please add Dr. Habiba ma'am as a presenter? She has some question, but she cannot unmute herself. Ma'am, just it will take another 2 minutes.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, Habiba ma'am, you are added in the team. Thank you so much, ma'am. Welcome to the session, ma'am.
I would like to thank the speaker for this fruitful, interesting, clear, and there is no way even to miss any information. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very interesting. And actually this method attracted me, and because I used to I have a questionnaire, and in that questionnaire there is one of the question. It's about ranking the factor. Okay, and I thought of only taking the average of this factor from the respondents based on their responses. So I don't know if I can apply this method or not. I'm not sure. So and there are different factors from 1 to 15, and the respondents rank them differently based on their priority to the least. So I don't know if I can apply this method to find out which one is the most important, then the least, something like that.
Okay, so if you have already collected the data based on the ranks, then I am afraid you won't be able to apply this AHP, because this AHP particularly demands the questionnaire in a set format, wherein taking two factors at a time, we ask the respondent to compare two at a time.
Okay.
Right? So pair-wise comparisons are mandatory to apply this AHP technique.
Okay, now I understood. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you, Preeti ma'am.
Okay,
I think so that this has got a very good response from all of our top management, preferably I'll say that. So thank you so much, ma'am. I've got a request that your faculty would like to contact you after this workshop also for the additional inputs, because we have a short time.
They can write to me anytime. I'll be happy to respond.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you so much for giving us this valuable inputs, and thank you so much, ma'am. Have a nice day. Take care, ma'am.
Thank you so much.